G'day and welcome. My
Hello
name
and
is
good
Aussie Stan, a
afternoon.
country
My name is
Victorian
Ozzy
gamer
Stern,
of Star Wars
a
Armada,
country
Star
Victorian
Wars
wargamer
Legion,
of Star Wars Armada, Star
Battletech,
Wars
Flames of
Legion,
War,
and many other games as well.
Today I'm starting a new project
Recently,
for my
I've
Star Wars Legions.
pretty much
I
finished
managed
off
to pick
all of
up
my
a
Rebel
set
Troopers
of
now,
Pathfinders from
and also all
Garfies
the commanders.
games.
Now I'm going to go on
And
to some
although
special
the
forces.
models are
I
great
recently
and I do
was
enjoy them,
able to
I'm
get some
thinking that I might
Pathfinders
use this
being done by
colour
Garfies
guide from
games.
the
And each of them,
book
I'm going to
Rogue
select
One
a character
visual,
out of
the ultimate
Rogue
visual
One's
guide,
visual
to
guide
represent each
to
of the
paint
models.
as that model.
So the first model that I'm
one
going to do is based on this character
is
by the
Private
name of
Calfor.
Private Calfor.
I'm going to use the
And
picture
as you can
here
see, he's quite
as the
brown
basis
in the way
of
his
how I'm
pants
going to paint the model.
and jacket.
So you can see
different
he's already
tonal
quite
colours.
brown in colours.
You'll also
skin,
note that the
with
weapons on
various
it is
tonal
quite
colours. The
shiny,
weapons
rather
on
than
all of them
the
are quite
traditional,
shiny,
matte
unlike
black
most of the
look that we
other
see
blasters that I
in
have
quite
done.
a
So
lot
I'll be doing
of
something
the
different
actual
there.
shows.
And of course, most of them have like
to that
a
end,
helmet
I plan on
slightly different than the normal
using
Rebel
as many
Trooper
of my
helmet.
different various colours. I
To
do
this
like the
end,
model as indicated. This is his
This
pose.
is the
You'll
model.
see that his gun is depressed at like a 30
The
degree
reason why I
angle.
chose Private
He's got a nice helmet.
Calfor is because
All the
if
colours
you, go
you
up
can
nice
see
and
behind the
close,
model are
you'll
going
see
to be
that
the
he's
ones
got a bit
that
of a beard
I
area
am going to
right
be
in
using.
there.
And the reason why I used the idea
And the
of
helmet
Private
is pretty much similar
Calfor
to what he's wearing.
is because of his beard
To that extent,
on that facial area.
for quite a lot of the webbing,
So, to that
packs,
extent,
boots, and that will be
going
in a
through
black,
the colours,
Abaddon
I'm
black.
going to use Abaddon Black
His
for
pants,
the likes
I'm
of his
going to do
boots
in
and
the dark
beard.
orc brown,
I'm going to use an
oak
oak
brown,
brown for the likes
while
of his
using
pants.
a beige brown for
some
the likes
beige
of his
brown
flak
highlights.
jacket.
I'm also going to use some
potentially
charcoal
use this
brown
charred
for
brown
the likes of his
coloration
vest,
as well.
as well
just
as
to give it a more darker look.
a uniform
Tallow and
green
sand,
colour for his
and also the
shirt. I'm also
other
going to
light
use
khaki
tallow and
colours
sand
that I have
just
will
as
probably
highlight
be
on
used for
some of his
some of the
ammo pouches, etc.
ribbon
For his
and
eyes,
the
I'm
outside
going
of the
to
helmet
use a
area,
dead
the
white.
straps of the helmet, etc.
Flesh, I'm
Dead
going
white
to
will
use
obviously
a bronze
be used
flesh
for
look.
the eyeballs. Bronze flesh will be used for
And
his
then
flesh.
for his weapon,
And then,
I'm
as
planning
the
on
weapon
using
shows,
the
I'll be using
gunmetal
as
an
for the main
initial
coloration of the gun, with
overlay
a little
of
bit of a
the
light
paint,
splash of
and
the
then
warp
use
lock
warp
bronze
lock bronze
on things like
to
the
do a
stock,
few of those
etc.,
areas,
just to give it a
just
more
to show that it's like two-tonal color of the weapon as shown in the
that's
picture.
the plan for today.
I also may end up using the
be
likes of the warp lock bronze and
shortly.
also the black in other areas as needed.
I'm going to have a couple of brushes that I will use
So,
for this
I
purpose.
think what I might firstly
hope you enjoy.
use is
I will say this, I'll
might
probably do a
do
voiceover
his pants.
very shortly.
It's probably
while
one
I'm
of the
painting,
better
as it's
areas
a little bit
to start
easier
painting
to do the actual voice
because
after I've done the painting.
essentially it's not going to cause too much of a issue with having too much other colours around. So I'm going to use the oak brown. We're just going to gently apply it, making sure that I try and do it as evenly as possible. It is a bit dark, but I do think that the idea of this person having quite dark colours will actually work. As long as I don't use too much of the same tonal colour. So as long as those other colours that I use later on, there's enough of a difference between them that I can see what is pants, what is shirt, what is gun, etc. So just applying a little bit at a time, rotating the model to get a better view at different points so that I can actually paint it properly. Always ensuring that there is as clean of a brush stroke as possible. Now, we're going to also make sure that some of the actual pouches that are on his pants are covered in that brown colour, as well as I believe that there is like a bandolier around his ankles for some reason.
Boo!
Not quite sure what they are. They could be like
Hello?
spare grenades or ammo. Not quite certain which. Either way, they'll get a bit of a brown coat and then get highlighted with a different colour later on. Next, I'm going to work on his vest area using this charcoal brown colour. I haven't used this brown before, but I wanted to get another darker brown, more darker than the oak brown. So went to my local gaming shop and was able to find this brown. Yeah, I'll just apply it on the rear of his vest for the moment, just to see what it looks like in comparison to the brown pants. Yeah, I'm not sure if you can see it on screen, but there is not a lot of difference between the two. Even if it dries slightly different, I do want it slightly darker than that, almost into almost a brown black. So I'm going to add in a little bit of the Abaddon black to just darken it up slightly. So I've already got a bit of that charcoal brown on that palette. I'm just going to get a brush load of the Abaddon black and just slowly mix it in with the charcoal black to see whether or not it goes a bit darker. So there's the black. And just put it on a little bit at a time. And as you can see, obviously with the black colour, it will initially overpower the brown quite a bit. But then as I keep on mixing more of the brown in, it will gradually come back to that brown look, but it's significantly darker than what it originally was. And I'm quite happy with that colour. So I'm going to apply it, and I'll apply it directly over the wet area so that you can see the difference between both browns. Making sure to do as much of the back area as possible, and also the ribbing of the jacket. And as you can see, that you can actually see while it's still wet that there is a clear separation in the two colours of the pants and the battle vest. So I quite like it, and I'll probably use that colour on his vest and also many of the other actual vests that I'll be doing throughout the rest of the Pathfinder unit. At least those that have a similar uniform look. The pants may change ever so slightly, but I'll be trying to keep at least the battle vest the same for most. Now, obviously I do enjoy rotating the model and actually being able to see it from different angles. There is a section on this model it's a little bit harder to get a good spread of paint, and that's directly underneath that arm there, and I'll just have to go around it for now. Just try and do as lightly as possible through that gun stock area, and generally try and get it as much paint on it as possible. So now that that's nice and done, I'm going to go on to the third phase of painting this model, and that's probably going to be with, now that the browns are done, the next colour I'll be using is to do the sleeves and around the actual jacket itself, where any of the undershirt is located. To that end, I'll be using a green called olive grey. You could also use like a Catachan green or any pale green look. It does look pretty good, and I do enjoy the colour for the likes of my Flames of War stuff. So I'm just going to slowly brush it on, trying not to get it onto any of the brown section of the battle vest. I actually think, well, I think it's called a blast vest for some reason. I believe quite a lot of the Star Wars RPGs start off with having a blast vest as a basic armor. And I'm just gonna keep painting those sleeves a little bit. Doesn't matter if it gets too close to the actual weapon itself, because obviously I'll be painting the weapon soon. What we want to ensure is that all the colours are going on nicely, smoothly, without pitting, without clumps of paint in the area. We want to make sure that all the sleeve area is covered, both from around the front of the miniature or the side that is most prominently facing to the other side, and also on the reverse side or the inner areas where many players will look at, but not the general viewer per se. The next colour that I'm going to use is a bit of flesh. I just want to bronze flesh in this case. Just put it on the wrists and also onto the face. Now you can see that the hand is quite angled. While the arm is at like a 90 degrees straight up and down, the hand is then at a further 30 degrees facing down, making it a little bit harder to paint that top section of the hand. But on the other hand,
it gives the model a bit of difference than just primarily either in a shoot 'em look or at rest look. It's why I do like this particular style of model, because it's more a dynamic pose rather than a attack or at rest pose that you would generally find in many game systems. This is a pose where he is moving forward, but he's got his weapon in a ready position where he can lift it up for a shot. So currently I'm just painting around the wrists and hands. I've done the face now. I wanted to make sure with the face that I do underneath that gun, that helmet rip. And now just moving on, lightly doing the fingers. Obviously I can come back and do those hands again if necessary, if I need to do the colours better. Or if I've overpainted in different sections. There you have it. I think I've painted pretty much most of the hand all right. And you can actually see right there the idea of a dynamic pose, that it's moving. It looks like it's moving. And that's something that quite a lot of model companies find very difficult to do on occasion. So now I'm going to put some gunmetal onto the likes of the gun itself. And then once it's dry, I'm going to use some warp block bronze in those areas that I think should be a little bit darker metal. So in Star Wars: A New Hope, you saw the blaster pistols held by the rebel troopers on the Corellian Corvette. It had that shiny metal on the barrel, but the rest of the weapon, it was still a dark metallic colour. What I'm trying to do is very similar to that. I'm trying to replicate the idea that the colour for the actual gun may be metal, but there are certain areas where it's been in some ways buffed to a high shine. And while in other areas it remains quite got that very brand new smelly just manufactured look, or a wet metal look. So now that the metal is pretty much all done, I'll leave that to dry. And now go on to a different section. I'm going to use some of this Talaran sand to do the under brim of his helmet. There is like a cloth underpiece, well, a soft leather around the rim of his helmet that I'm going to do now. So just a very small dab on the brush, and I want to just go and just use the edge of that model of that helmet to just very, very slowly go around and put that colour in. I don't want too much on it, but certainly I want enough colour so that you can see that it is supposed to be there. I'll do the little ear flaps or the chin strap with that same colour as well. Nice. Now, while we're doing this helmet area, we might as well get our warp block bronze and do the rest of the helmet in that colour. You can see that it's a nice black oily colour with a slight flaking of metal in it. I'm not even sure if I would even call it a actual bronze, because once it goes on and dries, it does look more like a shiny black with a very little amount of reflection or metallic look to it in many ways. But either way, it's a great colour for the likes of the helmet and also for the gun barrel that I'm going to use shortly. So working around from the edges of that Talaran sand that I've just put on, working my way towards the centre. And as you can see, it looks quite nice. I'll do the actual stock of the weapon in that colour, as well as the firing mechanism in the same warp block bronze colour. Slowly trying to avoid getting that paint onto the hands or on any other part. In some ways, I'm almost just trying to not put a huge amount of paint on. I just want it almost like a wash. Working my way down to the magazine and then around where that arm support or the weapon brace is located underneath the barrel for the guy to hold to provide a bit more stability. There's not a lot in the way of a clear, defined lines to actually say where the paint should be on the gun. So I'm making some approximations on how it should look. But it's sometimes quite difficult turning the model upside down, inside out, to get that just right. So in all cases, you do have to make your best guess for it. Now I still need to do the likes of his shoes, belts, as well as the colour of his beard. Now that the model is dried, I can go ahead and do a little bit more painting. I'm just going to take some brown, bringing around his beard, around his eyes, boots, and maybe might be able to take care of some of the belt sections. So right now I'm just putting a bit of Abaddon black onto his boots, making sure to paint the belt that is around his boot that holds those. I'm not sure if they are grenades or some sort of a med pack in any way. I'll paint them separately in a minute as well. So just continuing to take that colour around the boots. Making sure that I do the underside of the boot as well as the top sides. Just lightly brushing it on. There's nothing worse than having a model where you can see one section that just hasn't been painted well, because you can see the undercoat underneath it and there's nothing that it blends in with. It's just staring you. So taking time, get all that paint just right. And it's a slow process. It's trying to do any type of painting job can be a slow process to get right. So now, looks like the boots have been nicely done. Now going to go on, wash the brush, clean it a little bit, and I'm just going to do a little bit of white on the tip of my brush. These is going to be for the eyes. And I do like to do the eyes first before I do anything else with the face. Just gives an idea of where the person is going to be seeing, what's its point of focus, where it's going to go. And I want to run it around the eye as best as possible, lightly as possible, knowing that even if I do muck up and have a bit extra white, I can come back and use some more of that bronze flesh to close up that eye passage area. Now that I've done the eyes, I'm going to start working on the beard area and also the sides. I'm going to use a black colour again, Abaddon black, and just very lightly just do the edges of his chin. Just not so well with a larger brush. I'll probably try a small brush, working my way down towards a fine brush if necessary. This is the thing about making sure that your brushes are always in good nick. I think I've got around about 50 brushes in my bag, and only like 6 or 7 of them do I feel as though they're able to be really utilised well anymore. But here we are, nice fine brush. Want to go around the sides where the ears are, come down all the way, do around the front of the chin. Also making sure to do underneath the nose. then we want to just make sure that the brush goes down the edges very delicately, lightly. Obviously, I think I'll probably need to go back and do a little bit of extra cleaning up around that mouth area. I still have to do the eyes. And of course all the belt. And that's really starting to look like it should be. So you can see that I've got the eyes to do. The mouth needs to be a little bit more open. But for now, that's it from me, from Aussie Stone. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you next time on the table. Goodbye for now. Bye.